top corner, bring it down. Bring it down, just making circles, right? Sometimes bigger circles, sometimes smaller circles. Dark line back in there. I don't want to leave too much of a shadow, so we have to slide it back, but leaving little differences. No other tutorialist is going to tell you about that S right there. If they do, they stole it from me. So what we need to do, swipe it back and forth, right? Hi, welcome back to Paint with Josh. Today we did a gorgeous 18 by 24 inch sunset seascape that you love, that I love, that the buyer loves, right? This one was for Dolly M. Voiles. She purchased this painting before I'd even started, said just let it fly and I'm gonna love it. Obviously you guys love it as well. That's why you clicked on the link. You wanna learn how to paint this one. So check the description down below. Make sure you get all the colors you need. Make sure you get your canvas nice and wet. Get ready to throw some paint on. Let's do it just like this. Hey guys, welcome back to the studio. It's Paint with Josh. We're here, we're with you. You look fantastic, by the way, thank you. So, you can see what we've done. We've used a little bit of our blue painter's tape. We put our Liquitex black gesso across the whole bottom of the canvas. That's why we use this tape. And everything is nice and dry, you can see. So we're gonna peel the tape off. And that makes a gorgeous little straight line. Now we need to make our canvas wet, right? So we're gonna put this acrylic stuff away. We don't need this acrylic anymore. I get the question all the time, what's the difference between acrylic and oils? Well, acrylic dries very fast in about 5 to 10, 15 minutes, and oils take about 5 to 10 to 15 days to dry. So, okay, I wanted to show you some of the brushes we're gonna be using today. We're gonna use a Bob Ross 2-inch brush, Bob Ross 1-inch brush. You don't have to have these exact brand name brushes, just a hog hair, natural bristle, sort of soft, sort of firm brush. Gonna need a palette knife. We're gonna need 2 fan brushes. I use the GAC Doctor fan brushes. This one's a size 12, this one's a size 6. You can find them in my Amazon store, and you get about 7 of them for $10. They're amazing. Then we're gonna be using a filbert brush and a little liner brush, and you can see I've modified this liner brush. I've cut all the bristles out except for just a few, and sometimes that's what you have to do. After you use it for a few times and it starts to split apart, just take your scissors in there, get as close as you can, just leave like maybe 20, 25 little bristles in there, and it'll be perfect size for you. And I got these from Artify. They came in a 24-piece set. And I really only use these 2 brushes out of it. I need some new filbert brushes. So if somebody could shop my Amazon store or my Amazon wish list and send them to me and help me out, that'd be fantastic. Now we're going to need a bottle of Bob Ross Liquid Clear. It doesn't have to be the big one. You can use the little one. You don't need a whole lot. We're going to put that on our black section. And then we're going to take Bob Ross Liquid White, which is a white oil paint blending medium. It stays wet on our canvas. And we're going to put that in our white sections. If you've never seen how I put on or apply either of these 2, I have videos on my YouTube. I'll try to put them in the description, and that way it'll be easier for you to get to that spot. Right? And again, we just opened this jar, so it's at the very tip top. I'm just gonna dip just the tip of the bristles in. You see that? Just a couple. We don't need a whole lot of paint, especially for a small area like this. So we're gonna come in here and just start to spread it. I don't even wanna work it all the way from one side, right? We wanna dump it all over the place and then start to spread it out. Spread it out, and you'll see the canvas become nice and slippery and slick. That's what you want, but you don't want it real muddy up here. So if you end up putting on too much, which you can, right? It's not a very big space to fill up, and a lot of times we overjudge how much we need. So you can go back and wipe it with a paper towel, just like we do with our clear section. I'll show you how to do that in just a second. Now we need to wash the white paint off of this brush, and you can see I didn't even use a whole lot of paint, that it didn't even get down into the bristles. So we don't need to go very far into our thinner, right? And my thinner is about this far down. So we're gonna do, again, just dip the tip in and look at how much, we didn't even get a whole lot, but it's there, right? Shake it off because you don't want that stuff in there. So twist it around. Shake the excess into a trash can. And then bring out your old beater bucket. Mine's got a golf ball basket down in the bottom of it. That's what I had in my garage. Listen to this. Makes the best beater bucket noise, right? So, that's what I had in my garage when I very first started painting, and I still have the same bucket 4 years later. You can probably find one at a golf store, or you can find different things to beat your brush on. You can put a metal rod through your bucket or whatever, and just keep it contained so it doesn't spray all over the house, right? All right, now we've washed our brush, we've dabbed it on a paper towel. We need to get out our Bob Ross Liquid Clear, which looks a whole lot like this. So we're gonna open this up. And again, just the tip of the bristles, maybe a 1/4 inch. A little bit more than our white because we have a little bit more area to fill up, right? So we take all that clear, and again, we're gonna dump it in different spots. Look at all that. If you tried to work all that away from just one little corner, it'd be very thick over here and not thick over here, right? So we're gonna take our brush and we're gonna start to just try to stretch all of that paint to reach itself. right? And if we can get both piles to reach each other, then they're gonna be nice and thin and evenly spread out, right? Just like this, crisscrossing. If you have too much, because some of the times the liquid clear can feel very sticky versus the liquid white. And if you have too much, your brush will slow down a lot across your canvas. You'll feel it like drag. And that's not what you wanna have, right? So we're gonna mix in all that clear, spread it all out. And again, even I'm not good enough to judge when is the, or what's the right amount of clear in our brush. So I'm gonna go right up to the edge of that black line. And then we're gonna go and grab some paper towels. Get some paper towels ready. All right, we grabbed a couple paper towels. We're gonna fold them over into a square. And I don't wanna touch my white area before the clear area, right? So let's start at the bottom. We're gonna wipe it off, wipe it off, wipe it off. A lot of pressure, right? Pushing it. We're really trying to drag that stuff off. Now that I've gone across my whole black area, let's do it one more time. One more time. There we go, just in case, right? Because you can get a lot on there. Now we're gonna flip the thing over. Now we have a fresh, clean side with no paint on it. And just in case, let's go across that white area, but not bring it down into our dark area, because that'll really brighten that area up, right? Now you can look across and see, you're like, okay, my canvas is nice and slick and wet and even across the entire thing. And it's kind of hard when you get down to here because you don't want to drag too much white down in there. So be very careful. Sometimes it takes a few more swipes at it, right? And then you can look down your canvas, either which way, upside down, this way. Aerobics, ladies, aerobics, we're working out in here. And make sure that it's evenly covered. It's all nice and wet. All right, let's go through the colors that we have today. Yellow ochre, bright red, dark sienna, Van Dyke brown, a cadmium yellow, phthalo green, Prussian blue, alizarin crimson, midnight black, and titanium white on our 18 by 24 inch canvas. I'm all over the place today. Now, there's one thing I forgot to tell you that you needed in the beginning. Run to the kitchen, grab a plastic cup, hit pause right now. I'll sit just like this until you come back, right? So grab your solo cup. We're gonna go through, get a little bit of yellow ochre. I'll show you how we load the brush up too. Just like this. Give it a little bit of yellow ochre and a little bit of our cad yellow. And bring our two brightest colors together, just like that on our brush, right? Let's set this down because we need both hands. And let's say our sun sets off over in the distance over here. Don't want it to be too low to the horizon because you won't have room for it to grow, right? So about halfway in between the horizon and our black area, our ocean down here. We're gonna come around, push just like that. Start to blend it outwards, right? Taking some of that color, pulling it away. You can even go all the way to the corner if you want, right? And then you just add darker color over it. Pulling it down. See, this is why we leave room. We don't go down too far. Pulling it away from the canvas. Bouncing it away, right? That hard line is what we're trying to get rid of. So we're pulling it, we're pulling it, we're pulling it, we're pulling it, just like a clock, going in different directions all the way around it. And now we're gonna come in from midnight, right? Start pulling in, but leave this center like a good quarter-sized, a good coin-sized area of just white. So we're gonna pull it in, lightly, lightly, lightly. You never know how much it's gonna grow, so it can't be the same pressure all the time. What do we always talk about? The amount of paint on the brush, the amount of, pressure on the canvas, and practice, of course, right? So you might have it a little thicker over here, a little bit less, and this might try to grow, so it's all about judging your pressure, how much paint is on there, and the more you do it, the more practice you get, the better you're gonna get at it, right? Let's wash that brush. Gotta shake it off into the old beater bucket. Just like that. Fantastic. Okay, now that we've got our sunset up here, we need to start working progressively into darker colors. We're gonna go into our red as our next darkest color. And we're gonna drop some of that red, leaving a good inch of white, right? We're on an 18 by 24 inch canvas. We've got a lot of room that we can work in, right? That's a lot of thick red. That's Gamblin 1980 red, which is very much more vibrant than the Bob Ross red that we're used to. So gorgeous, I love it. All right, bring some of that red down in here even. You can cover it with any sort of dark color, right? Red, crimson, blue, black, green. They'll all stay very dark on this dark canvas and allow us to work. See how we flick it upwards? Just allow it to blend. And this is not our finished product, right? And if you know how to do a Paint with Josh Sunset, you can go ahead and scroll, but make sure you give me a thumbs up before you scroll on. Right? Taking any amount of that color, leaving a little bit because it's gonna wanna grow down and cover up our little center area, which is not what we want, right? Let's come in here to our crimson, a little bit darker red. We're gonna go with our darker red out here. That's very much the same color as that gambling red. So we're going to our blue. A little bit of blue, just help darken it up. It's that lavendery, purpley color. It's gorgeous, bringing it down, leaving little areas though. You don't need to cover everything the same. Maybe the smallest little bit of that blue and crimson over here, and not a lot because it's gonna wanna grow, right? Maybe we cover the edges and then just maybe let it blend down the smallest little bit, but you have to have enough crimson and blue to make purple versus your blue turning green in your sky, right? Very cool. Now we need to wash this brush off because it has too much paint on it. And one of the 3 P's, the amount of paint on our brush, right? Dip it into the cup, shake it off. Into the old bucket, comes out nice and clean. Dab it off on a paper towel. Get used to dabbing it off on a paper towel, otherwise it's gonna be too wet. Too wet and nasty. Okay, now we're gonna come back with the same brush, haven't swapped brushes, and go into our lightest area and just start crisscrossing, just maybe with the corner, the back corner of it, right? Just like this back and forth, just making it soft. Any allowance of a little bit of yellow paint in there is gonna be okay dokie. Right, now we're gonna come out here, start dragging some of our yellow out into the red, some of the red back into the yellow. Little crisscrosses is gonna start to blend that color and turn into the most gorgeous little orangey, sunsetty sky you've ever seen. Right, light pressure, otherwise it's really gonna wanna grow down and cover. And again, if you end up leaving a circle, you can go and put some clouds over it. I'll show you how to fix that, right? So all about pressure, paint, pressure, practice. 3 P's of paint with Josh, right? Maybe we come in with this red, like it's a downward stroke in like this, right? And connect these 2 bits, so it's almost like an oval or an extended teardrop, some sort of different shape than we're normally used to. A little bit more of our blue onto the brush out here. And we're gonna allow that blue to mix in with all the red at different pressure, different lengths of our strokes, right? And get this gorgeous, vibrant sky for Dolly. She's gonna love it. She's already purchased this painting before we even painted it. That's how much she's gonna love it. She just already knows. Look at that. Okay, now you can see, we still got a few little areas that we need to blend out, but with all this paint on the brush, it makes it difficult. So we gotta clean it off again. Clean it off. Shake it off. Beat the devil out of it, and then what do? Paper towel. Dab it off on the table. Just smashing it almost all the way to the thing so it goes boom, and you're really dabbing it on there and getting it dry. People go, why do you wear gloves? This is why. Because I'm very hands-on. Right, we're gonna go back to the same brush, nice and dry now, come in here. Even lighter pressure than before, because I'm not trying to make the color grow, we're just trying to soften these little sharp brush marks, brush strokes. There we go. Oh my, guys, it looks fantastic. Oh my, and see how we haven't gone over that white area so much that it's changed. We still retain that white. And then out here again, light pressure. It's almost like when you go to the gym, right? Lightweight, more reps. So we're doing more crisscrosses out here, but with very light pressure, and that way the paint doesn't continue to grow down to where it's a sharp line like that, right? Let's take a little bit more, maybe we bring it down around, let it blend in, maybe this guy over here. Maybe we start pushing a little harder, maybe some of the color will come off the brush up there and create it. Oh yes, just like that. Fantastic, right? Go across, back and forth, so lightly that you're not even dragging any paint across the canvas, right? Bam, and we don't even have much on the brush. So watch, I won't even clean it. Just beat it off on the beater bucket and it comes off fairly clean. We'll dab it on a paper towel because we're gonna go back and use it in the sky later anyway, right? So, all right, let's grab our fan brushes, size 12, size 6, GAC Doctor fan brushes. You can find them in my Amazon store. They're fantastic little fan brushes. Now let's take the bigger one and maybe out here, right? We're gonna work in that same progression. So we need to go with a little bit of yellow, but we can't just put yellow into our yellow, otherwise it's not gonna stand out. So we'll go a little bit of red, little bit though, because this gambling is like, I don't know, it's very, very oily. It's not as dry, it's very vibrant. I like it, but it's just different. So we're gonna go just onto the one corner of the brush, just like that. Look at that big old brand new fan brush. It's fantastic, boom, right? So, brand new fan brush, just on the one corner, and that way we don't use too much paint. And maybe we come in here, just around, maybe underneath that little bit of sunlight. Maybe it flowed up there. Who knows, right? Where do you want yours to go? Don't put too much paint though. Leave room for it to grow. What are the 3 P's? You guys tell me. I'm not even gonna say it. No, that's not it. Yeah, okay, you're right. Paint, pressure, practice. 3 P's of Paint with Josh. Remember it anytime you're doing the sky, the clouds, the ocean, the mountains, the trees, anything. PPP, WJ, the 3 P's of Paint with Josh. All right, we're gonna mix this down. And because we're using the same colors, I don't wanna put too much pressure. Otherwise, all that'll blend into the same bit of sky, right? Like watch, the more we blend at the bottom, the more you'll never even know that kind of orangey color was there. So very light. We're not trying to mix up it. We're not trying to move it, just so lightly. Fantastic. All we need is a little bit of cloud shape out there. And then maybe we'll take the same brush and just go into our white with the other corner. All right, loading up this side with a bunch of white. Just like that. And then we'll go over the tip tops. Where do you think the sun would have kissed this cloud? Just kissed her good morning. Good morning, babe, right there. All right, a little bit of light over here. Maybe it trailed off out into our pink area, right? I love when they go from the light out into the dark part of the sky. It just makes the most gorgeous thing, right? We're not adding any paint underneath. And why do we do that? So when we start to blend our clouds downward, they have room to grow, right? So just with the top corner, and again, you don't have to use the 2-inch brush. If you have a 1-inch brush, perfectly fine. Top corner, bring it down, just making circles, right? Sometimes bigger circles, sometimes smaller circles, little things. Watch, try to go slow. They don't really work out the best when I try to go slow. See how we leave little bits of shadow behind the cloud? It just adds all that depth. Little soft little things. Maybe we turn, we stop, and we go back this way. Or then we stop, and we turn, and we go the other way, and we come back, right? And you blend it, and you blend it, and you blend it until it looks how you want it to look. So soft. See how it gets out there into the cloud? Ooh, out into that purple area. Watch this. We're going to grab that. A little bit more of the white. And maybe we have this soft little floater just continue out there. Oh, just because I want it to go so far. It's so pretty. Same brush. Haven't washed it. I always dab. Every time you hear that, someone knocking at the door, that's me dabbing the brush off, right? Very lightly, mixing it down. Sometimes bigger circles and more pressure. Watch. Bring it down, right? Then fill that section in with a few more little circles. Look. God, it's so lovely. So lovely. So soft. Just floating out there. Singing hello, right? If you don't like an area, work on it a little bit harder. Push it a little bit more. Change it. Change what it looks like. Push a little bit harder, right? Go back in there. Add a little bit more white. Just bounce it in, right? And all of a sudden, you've got more depth in your sky. So light, though. We don't want it to blend away. So light. All this cool little depth. Distance. Fantastic. Watch, we're going to take in here. Pull out to the side. It looks like you get a flat bottom to your cloud back there, right? And then we can mix in whatever you want to mix in over here. Doesn't matter. Does not matter. Maybe come in a little bit more with that white paint. Don't want to use all the white paint I got out in the clouds. Maybe over here, just popping it in. Almost like we're writing in cursive. Right? Just write, who do you love? Who do you hate? Write their name. Whoever it is. Write their name in cursive. Just all messily so they'll never even know, right? Blend it down, mix it down, just the corner of the brush. Man, so soft, so cool. Leaving these little things. And again, the more you mix it, the more it'll blend away. You know, all these neat little things. Decide where you want the bottom of your clouds to be. Swipe them off, right? If your bottom of your clouds are at different levels, it's going to make it look further away. Going to change the look and change everything. It's going to be so cool. All right, maybe, since we use some shadowing back there, this guy out here that's so far away from our sunlight needs just a little bit of bluey, crimsony, purpley shadow. And I'm not worried about the sky turning green anymore because we're out into our purple section. All right, so maybe underneath that guy, such a small amount of paint. No pressure at all. Just letting any amount fall off. And that way, it's gonna blend easier and stay small, right? The more paint you have on there, what do we always talk about? Paint pressure practice. If there's tons of paint, it's gonna grow real far. So little amount of paint, just the corner of the brush, just mixing it up slightly. Just the smallest little things until, watch, we turn, we go the other way. Bring it up here. Just mixing in that dark color, letting it blend with the white on top of it, And the more you do, the more cool little things you have. Now, I have no more room for white on this brush, so let's wash it off. And remember, with any brush, you're going to get a little bit of bristle loss at the beginning until the brush kind of gets used to you. So I'll come back in, a little bit more white, and just out here, brighten up some of these areas, maybe maybe saving some of those shadows. That's what I wanted to say. Maybe shaving the lados. I don't know. I mean, I keep it pretty close, but not shaved all the way. Jeez. There we go. Man, that's cool, right? Look at some of that pink color as we bring it down into our ocean. You can change the color, right? And again, we haven't put any paint down here yet. So we're going to take our 2-inch brush now that we're done with our sky. We're going to swipe up from the bottom to the top. We're going to take our 2-inch brush. We're going to swipe from the top to the bottom, just like that. Just like this, over to the side. Bam, so softly, not trying to move the paint, just letting it be out there, right? Let's put a little bit of undercolor into our sea. What do you want your ocean to look like, right? Maybe we do a little bit of phthalo green. We're gonna have a lot of colors too, so don't let it grow too much. A little bit of phthalo green, maybe back in here. Just a small amount. Maybe we save some of that pink that's out in the water out there. I think that one's gonna be covered by a mountain anyway, so little teeny tiny amount of our green. Our phthalo-y green, it's fantastic. Right, just like that. Now we're going to go into our Prussian blue, a little bit darker blue, maybe down in here, leaving a little dark disconnect in between our green and our blue. I'm going to throw that dark Prussian blue in there. Keep it nice and dark, and the more that you use, the more bluey it's going to be when you come with your white paint, right? You can see that dark disconnect line in there. Let's go a little crimson, bring our crimson down. Throw that crimson maybe underneath this guy right over here. All right, and as we blend over the top of it, it's gonna be so fantastic. Okay, now, I wanna add a little bit of brown to our ocean. Maybe we'll put some crimson up in here too. Just let it change however it wants to be. It doesn't have to be purple, it'll be all sorts of pretty colors. And now we're gonna take our 2 brown colors and pull down just like that into both of those, loading them up. And once they're all loaded full of color, we're gonna bring them in from the side, but not try to cover up all of our dark. I don't want to cover up all the black. Just want to have a little bit of brown down here as our sandy beach to blend in with, right? Just not trying to cover up all the black, and again, leaving little dark disconnects in between each color. That's how you got to do it. Didn't even paint the colors over here because we're going to have a bunch of spray and clouds of water and all sorts of stuff. Now, wash that brush off, get all the dirty color out of there. Just like so. Now we're going to come in here, grab a little black, little crimson, little blue. All right, make a clean space for us to work here. You can grab some of that phthalo green, it's okay. It's all dark colors. So we're going to blend those all in together, making this very purpley, dark, black looking color. Very dark, right? Now I'm going to mix in the smallest amount of white into here, and then I'm going to blend it until I like the way that it looks. Any color that you put back here is automatically going to turn lighter because of all the white paint that we have up there. That white undercolor, our Bob Ross liquid white, right? It's gonna turn white, it's constantly mixing. So don't make it too light, otherwise it's gonna get so light you won't be able to see it. Take a little bit of that, scrape it up onto our knife, smallest little bit, little like roll of paint. And then who knows, maybe we came out here, there was like a soft little bit of a mountain. Don't wanna cover up all of our clouds, right? So save some of those pretty clouds back there. And it's not even a big roll of paint, it's not a whole lot. I don't want it to grow too far. These are very far away. They don't need to have a whole lot of detail. All right, and then over here, we're just gonna let them fall off into nothing. Grab our brand new 1-inch brush from Jessica Morgan. Jessica, you're a star. I love you, thank you. Gonna grab this guy, gonna slide him down into our water. All right, just out like that. And then wherever our dark color meets our water, look, same strokes, down and to the side. Down and to the side. Now, off the back of this guy, maybe we pull it a different direction. Right? Because the mountain's not just one thing, it's got to have sides to it. Otherwise, it just looks flat. Maybe we take this guy, bring that dark section back into that lighter section. Now we have 2, 3 mountains out there, right? Again, pulling off in a different direction when you go off the back side. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense to our brains. Boom, far away, little soft little mountains. And then depending on how far you let the water come up to those mountains, depends on how far or what the shape looks like, how they look. Now, while we're working in a little small area, about 6 to 10 inches over here, why don't we use our smaller brush? Go back and grab a little bit of white paint, maybe a little bit of yellow. Mix those guys in over here. Not a whole lot of yellow. It doesn't have to be so super yellow, right? And the white is going to mix with whatever color we have under there. So take it just like this, and come in like that, and just start making little sideways things, not connecting them though, right? You don't want to have too many connected areas, and you don't want to have too many disconnected areas. You don't want to have too much color on your brush, that's for sure. Right now, underneath those guys, I'm going to leave little dark spaces, but I'm coming up to my dark spot where we didn't put any paint, right? Our separation area, that's where we don't want to get too much paint on the canvas, right? We want to stay in our green area, our green section. Just like that, couple swipes, okay? Now you're going to take your brush, your 1-inch brush, you're going to swipe them off sideways, back and forth, as soft or as hard as you want, depending on how you think they need to grow. Just trying not to blend them all into the same color, right? And now you have all these little dips, raised areas, lowered areas, light areas, dark areas. And we go back and put like a small little bit of a white cap way out there. And it doesn't have to be the straightest line, but you don't want a whole lot of paint, that's for sure. Now we came back here, maybe there were waves like crashing up. Get a little bit more paint on the knife, there we go. There are waves crashing up over there against the shore or something, right? They're not our focal point, so we're going to take them, we're going to swipe them softly. Don't want them to go away, right? Soft little swipes, soft little things, different directions. Man, very cool. Just little details, right? They're far away little details out there. And this guy, we might have to get the old yardstick out just for my brain to go. There we go. Cover up that little bit of dark line back in there. But not all of the darkness, right? What do we always say? Gotta have those dark areas to show the light, right? Take our brush again, very softly, haven't washed it. Just enough to get a few more little details out there, okay? Now we're gonna come in, same brush, a little bit more paint. And we need to start making our bits of back wave, and they need to look like little upside down mustaches almost, right? So you come in like this, little peak, down. Right, and off of that peak, you start sliding it back into our water, very lightly going away. That's not a whole lot of detail back there. You don't want to see a lot, and your peak has to be high enough to make sense, right? Don't want a lot of paint off the back either. There we go. Feeding it back to the last little section, or just letting it flow out until there's no more detail back there. Right, again, very softly in the same angle that we just pulled. We're going to pull with our 1-inch brush, trying to leave it very dark underneath. Right, soften this guy off to the side. Very cool. Just a little bit of detail out there is all we need. Right, want to keep the area underneath very dark. So swipe out any bit of color that you have down under there. And for whatever reason, my mustache just looks funky. Maybe it doesn't have enough curl. So let's go down a little bit, and then up, and then over, right? Fill those guys in. Not straight from the point of the wave, right? You're never gonna see the exact point of it back there, or the water that's feeding up to the point, so don't worry about it too much. Very softly, little small amount of color off to the sides, all you need, just in case. And then we can fill it with our big crasher anyway. Very cool. Okay, now, we're retaining this dark line underneath for it's almost as the shadow of this bit of water that's coming in towards us, right? And it doesn't have to be the straightest line. Water is not a straight thing, right? So we got to decide where we want our big giant crasher to live. And maybe he comes up almost as high as those mountains and just pushes those guys so far away, right? But I need a bigger brush for this. So let's go into our big brush and get it all on just the tip, right? Not trying to fill up the whole thing, just trying to fill up the edges. Wiggling it down, making it nice and sharp right on the edge like that. And then we'll take one of these sharp corners and decide, maybe our wave came up like this. And then it was like, that's the peak of it right there. And it started to go down at whatever angle you think it should be falling, right? And then maybe I'm gonna change my angle and go off this way, because I love these double angled crashers, right? So we dropped a little bit of paint up there, haven't really got a lot off the brush. And then with just the corner, right? Because there's not a lot of crash that we would see at the top. So just the corner, I'm just gonna start to flick kind of at a downward little, almost making a C, right? But we don't want to let the C go too far. And then we flick down, right? Just a little bit. And the more that we flick, the more it starts to look like water crashing, right? But we're never going to see all the sunlight on the back side of the wave. All the sun would be on the back, you know, on the back of my knuckles back here if they were the wave. So don't bring too much paint down. Let it stay dark, right? Now we're going to rotate our angles. Go out that way. Big old monster crasher right here, right? All we're really worried about is what this top line looks like, and then our little flicks down, right? The more paint we have, the more it's going to show. Keep it nice and dark. You got to retain the darkness down here. You're never going to see everything, right? Just like that. Oh, it's fantastic. Now we're going to come up and grab, remember we had the tip of our wave up here? So maybe we had a little bit, and then we grab it and come down underneath, just like that. Another little smiley face, right? This is the same shape as this, it's just much bigger. We're going to take that brush. Let's get some fresh paint on it, right? And come back in here, and let's get a little bit of color into it too, because why not? A little bit of yellow, mix it in. It's gotten too white, and I want it to be a little bit more yellowy, like that sunrise, a sunrise, right? Come in here. Let's go over our little thing again, just a little, just like that, right? And we're going to come in here, and with the blue underneath, it may start to turn green in some places, right? So we start flicking it and rotating our flicks to line up. Right? It's not just a straight diagonal thing. And again, you're never going to see what's happening up on the back side of this wave. So start down where your next little bit of dark line comes in. That's your next area to feed it. Right? Then we start working on those flicks. And as the flicks grow and their angles, you know, it's less of a parentheses and more of a flatter trajectory. Right? Back like this. Over there. Don't want the two colors to touch though. That's not going to be good if they touch. And if you're going too straight up, then your water is going to look like it's just going to look different, right? And come over here. Now we're going to start to slide out to the side, almost matching those same angles out there, right? And that'll show our rotation is different. Ooh, look at that purpley color over here. Gorgeous, right? And I don't want to leave too much of a shadow, so we have to slide it back, but leaving little differences like a heart monitor in here, right? So if you got one that's a little bit low, go up a little bit higher, and then a little bit lower. And then again, we're changing, we're rotating, we're flicking, we're adding, we're little highlights and little things, just leaving that little section of darkness back at the top of this wave, back here. Right? And again, the little flicks and directions of our brush are vital. Absolutely 100% vital. What if we took a little bit of our yellow back there, just for a few little flicks and details? Bang, popped it in just like that. Very cool. Very wet, a lot of foam, right? This is a tumultuous area in here. You get a lot of foam happening. Let me take a little bit of that yellow, a little bit more of our white. And just on the top, maybe we'll create a few little flicks of like golden, sunshiny highlights that just kiss the top of the wave. Right there, right? Maybe over here we get a few more because this side is a different angle. We're seeing more of the back of the wave as it's crashing. So we'll put a couple little yellowy flicks back in there. Let them blend in. Oh man, that's a pretty looking wave. Maybe this is some algae floating on top of the water or something, you know what I mean? On top of all that foam. Very cool. All right, now we need to add a eye, and I almost washed all this color off. We don't need to do that. We can just add our eye in here. But again, remember, this is the top of our shadows. So leave a good, I don't know, a good half an inch or an inch underneath this area, because you have to retain that same dark line that you do back here. So let's come bring our eye down here. And we can let it grow upwards or downwards or wherever based on our blending out, right? But if you put it too high up, too close to your thing, it's not gonna look right. And remember, we're into our blue section down here. So all this yellow and blue should make the most gorgeous green you've ever seen. And take our 1-inch brush like this and come over here. Just like that, start mixing. Maybe we bring it up to here, but not allowing it to touch. Leaving that dark separation just by pushing it up. Little flicks, little things, right? Little rotations, little line of darkness in between. Can't have it be all the way, can't have them be touching, right? And the more we push, the more it'll grow, the more it'll mix with that blue and all those little differences in there, right? Getting it very close up to the edge. Oh, just pushing it, pushing it, pushing it, pushing it, pushing it. Letting it flow outwards, right? Very cool. Now we need to wash the white off of this brush. Actually, we can save it. Let's do it right now since we're here. we can do where's our wave gonna crash? So let's in our minds pretend that the wave was coming down like this and then hit like right here. So we can start to shape what our foam is gonna look like. And remember, you have to go straight to the side when you very first start, and then you can change. Oh, look at that pink. Oh my, that's gonna be cool. That's gonna be cool. Okay, now we can wash this brush off. We don't need that anymore. That's just a little eye, a little thing, a little preview about where we're headed, right? Right down there. And that's where we know our water is gonna come down and crash. Now we've made up all that purpley color, right? So we can make a little more crimson, black, blue, right into here. Again, just on the corners of the brush, almost like you have, you know what I mean? You got more on the edges than you do in the middle, and that's gonna help. So we're gonna rotate the brush over and just use the corner. Again, we need to have that little line of darkness in there, right? So have it connect. You don't have to have it be so rough, but it's gotta be dark. Now we're gonna connect to that darkness and just pop underneath and go down, not up higher into the water, right? You need to stay under it and maintain our little rotation. Our S-shaped curve is what we're worried about, right? So I don't wanna lose all these little flicks down here. We're gonna come in, we're gonna flip up, just allowing our bit of brush to just get around those flicks, just the smallest bit, right? Come down. Now we've covered up a little bit of our foam down here, so we know we're here, we're touching. Now we can bounce a little bit more, come up, hide our little bit of area where the cloud, or where the mountain came in, right? Just like that. And I know it might be difficult to see because it's this dark color, and then you go back and you highlight it, right? So let's wash this brush off. You can see those areas we've left where it's not even touching the water. There's a little disconnect there, right? And that way, when we go over with our highlights, it'll still remain dark. Now let's take a little bit of liquid white. That same liquid white that we put up here in our sky, it helps thin our paint down. So let's go in. We need a little bit more than that, Josh. You don't want to soak your whole brush in it, but you need a little bit more so it's a little wetter. You need to feel a different consistency between this wet, sloppy paint and that thick, dry paint, right? Tapping it into our brush, just so it's all over the place in there. And then we're gonna come in just with the corner again, and we have to pop a little bit above that peak. Right here above the tip of the wave, we have to pop up above that, just to show, oh, perfect, just like that. Little things, and then over here, maybe we'll go and just make this guy a little bit dirtier, a little bit more like it's about to fall over and crash like the rest of its friends, right? So we'll come back again, staying on top of the shadow. I don't want to cover all those shadows. We're going to come in and pop up, and I don't want to cover all the darkness above the shadows. So it's about halfway down the shadow, and we're tapping that little bit of yellow. And if you start to mix and it starts to get all muddy and dark like that, go back, wash it off. I need to switch to a bigger brush anyway for this next section. I like using a small brush up in this tight little area. And then we'll come in with that big old 14. You don't have to have a giant one like this, but a bigger brush anyway, right? And we're gonna come back in. Again, we have to have that right consistency. You can't just go straight liquid white up to the canvas. It's not gonna work well. So we're gonna dab our brush, make sure it's a little bit less liquidy. Come up here, just start slapping in at different heights, turning the brush, spinning it in our hands, turning it all over the place, maybe flipping it around, right? Maintaining that S shape though. Doesn't have to be the most perfect looking S, but it's gotta be there. And don't worry, we'll go back and mix all these guys out, right? You can blend them. If you don't like the way that it looks coming off of your brush, you can always blend it out. Little bash. Over here doesn't matter so much. That's where the majority of our blending is gonna happen. Right here is where you wanna have your best details, right on the edge. So maybe go back a little bit more liquid white, a little bit into there. Maybe we just use the tip corner of the brush, bashing up a couple times as it's falling down, right? Not having those ones that look like grass, but just using the corner or little different areas, smacking at it. Smack, smack, smack. You know what I mean? Let that water fall in different places. Not everywhere has to be covered. You want to have little dark areas and differences and stuff like that. Man, that's a cool looking wave. Okay, let's wash this off. We got that washed, and we have to clear up all this liquid white because we don't want it to get too wet and liquidy, right? Let's save it over here by the yellow. We may use it later. I'm gonna come back with our 1-inch brush. Haven't washed it, just dab it on a paper towel, right? And come up, let's go over here first, and we'll start to mix it just like we did with the clouds. But because there's liquid white in here, it's gonna wanna move a lot. So such light pressure. Oh, don't get rid of all those little differences, all those darkness, little dark areas, those light areas. Starting to mix it just like a cloud. Maybe leaving a couple little bits where you can see the water. Right, so maybe skip a few areas, maybe come down here, we skip a little bit, come over there, we skip a little bit. Again, just like our clouds, we have light areas, we have dark areas, we have all this action happening down here. Right, maybe we'll pop over to this side, kind of stay down, maybe come up into there just a bit, maybe come down, right? You get all that action, all that motion, oh my. And again, with the liquid white, it's really gonna wanna grow, so be careful, right? It's coming down, it's hitting, it's exploding outward, right? Shooting off to the side. Just like that. You can make your foam and water and brush, however you wanna make yours, right? Okay, let's wash this brush off because I don't think we're gonna need it anymore. Remember, you gotta keep this area between our light and our where we touch very dark. That's where our curl is, our little foam. Let's come up here maybe with the smallest bit. Trying to grab a little, just making it soft like it is down there, but not so soft, right? Not as soft. Small little things. Just so it's cool. Now, yeah, it looks like an S, right? If we were to take an S and write it on its side, that's what you want to have. And no other tutorialist is going to tell you about that S right there. If they do, they stole it from me. Okay, let's go back in here. Here's where we can go just straight up liquid white. Couple little bits just on the corner. So we have those little differences, right? And then when it just on the corner, even out here, so small, tiniest little dabs, like you had a couple little bits of water that were like falling down and they're about to come down and hit down there, right? That's what helps us create that distance back in there. Wash that brush. Dry it off. Okay, now we're gonna create our wave. We're gonna go back into our thick paint. Remember, we cleaned up all the liquid white, so it's not there anymore. We don't need it. We want it to be thick. We want it to be hard to move and mix with all those colors in here, right? Come back into our thing. We're gonna start to go backwards and then slide up. And as we slide up, we don't want our two light areas to touch too much. Otherwise, they'll start to look the same, right? Gotta have that darkness. Now back in here, go back, and let's go up. As we go, we're starting to go further and further and further to the side, more straight off to the side, right? A little bit, our angle starts to change. And you can always soften this back here, just don't let it get too much. Right, now we're gonna flip the brush over, come in here and just start almost, you have to almost see what your water is gonna look like, right? It's not just straight up, so you can't just go straight up like this. You can't go straight diagonal. That's gonna be weird looking. You gotta curl it, right? Bring it up, a little bit of rotation, almost like you're making a circle, but you're not connecting, right? You're pulling the brush away as you come across your foam and then it connects again, away and connects, and away and connects. Almost like you're making a little bit of a circle in there. And if you don't have enough rotation, then it's gonna look strange, right? It'll look weird if it's not the right rotation. So we're gonna come in here. Now I'm pushing a little bit harder, getting more paint to come off the brush. Changing the angle. Now we're going to come down from the top, making it kind of blend its way down to this flatter area down here. And poof, you got a wicked looking wave. Just like that, right? Very cool. Very cool. Then you decide what you want it to look like. If it comes over here, comes out a little bit more, you know what I mean? You decide. What's yours look like? I don't know. I'm painting mine, you're painting yours. Okay, let's take our 1-inch brush very lightly with those same angles and same little flicks and rotations. We're gonna rotate it up, right? Just making it soft. Just like I had to lose one of my little guys. That's why we tend to put those guys in until after. And to save them, right? There we go. Rotating, you don't want to let it get too bright back in there. That's a very shadowy area. Okay, now we're gonna come in here. And just swiping the same angles, right? So as we go, we're going out to the side, out to the side, out to the side. Just making it soft. Coming in here, blending the bottom so it's soft. Just by pulling it out, just like that. Now you have your room. You got a blueprint. Where are you gonna put your bit of foam? Where are you gonna do, what are you gonna do with it? How are you gonna put your water line in? There's your blueprint right there, right? Now, Let's do our wet sand. Let's come in. We need to load up our brush with some yellow ochre. A little bit of yellow ochre, a little bit of white. Really bright. Now, this is where you decide where your foam is, right? I think mine's gonna be back here. So we're gonna go a 1/4 inch below our foam and just start dropping off little things. And you'll see what I mean, right? We're gonna come up to the 1/4 inch between that darkness, pull down. Next little bit of darkness is a little bit higher, pull down. Next one's a little bit higher, pull down. A little bit higher, pull down. Don't let them touch though, right? Don't let this color touch that color. You have to have that little dark separator. And as we go up higher, we pull down more. A little bit more pressure because there's less paint on the brush, right? Over here, there's lots of fresh paint on the brush. So, take your 2-inch brush like that, come back over here, pulling it down with a lot of pressure, right? You can pull it off, you can get your easel dirty, it's okay. It's not gonna get mad at you. All right, pulling it down. But this is the #1 mistake I see beginners make. They'll leave their wet sand looking just like this. And this, if it was up in the sky, would look like an aurora borealis, right? So that's not the look that we're going for on the beach. So what we need to do, swipe it back and forth, right? Swipe it, retain that dark line, but look at the difference now. Look at the difference between the right side and the left side. One looks like sandy, wet beach. The other looks like aurora borealis, right? So we take it, swipe them out to the side. Just don't let all of the color reach everywhere on the canvas, right? Leave some dark areas and don't lose your little dark separation line. If you do lose your dark separator, go back to that purple, come back in wherever you feel your wave would have been. Put that little dark separation back in there, right? And then very softly feed it or soften it, pull it, right? We're not trying to make it grow, we're just trying to soften it down just enough to where it splits our little things apart, right? Bang, just like that, perfect. Okay, now we're gonna come in, I'm gonna grab up our liquid white, right into our yellow ochre white color, making that same sort of texture as it was up here. And come in and scrape and start to lay down our bit of foam right on top of that dark area, right? If you stay above your darkness, then it's gonna look really cool. It's gonna give the effect that this foam has about 1 inch of lift, right? Just start smushing it up the canvas like that, allowing all that little bit to break. You don't need a whole lot of detail out there. The foam is not a neat thing, it's a very messy thing, so you don't have to have it look nice, right? A little bit of yellow ochre, a little bit of white. Come in here, and we're gonna back up a little bit, start to slide it up with our same rotations, right? You don't have to go up and cover up all your details. That's not what it's about, but for me, it's about having lots of color for Dolly. She's got some sort of eye issue, hard for her to see, and so she requested a very bright colored painting, right? Now, you can either go from the top and work it down very softly, right? Or the bottom and work it up. But you have those little differences in color, those little differences in texture and thickness, right? As we go up here. Now, same thing with our little point and our point and our point and our point. We can go it this way too. You can come back here, you can go point and then back down around, right? But it all depends on the angle of your brushes. So don't have it grow too far. And over here, maybe we start curling just a little, taking our wave, different angle, sliding it back, making it soft. And that way, you've got this little bit where the water is starting to curl, starting to happen. All right, maybe we got a little bit over here, a little bit of bright area. And that way, there's almost a little ridge there. It's almost like a little table, a flat area where the water comes up and then starts to connect to its bit as it rotates over, right? Very cool. Very, very cool. And you decide what you want them to look like. You change the look of yours, however it's gonna rotate, however it's gonna happen. It's gonna be fantastic. Okay, we're gonna swipe these little bits of our foam out. We're gonna make them nice and straight and neat. And that's what's so cool about the oils. You can move this stuff, right? You can change it. How do you want yours to look? You can spread it, you can make it go all the way to the bottom if you really wanted to. You do you, baby. You can make yours look any which way possible. A little bit of dark line, smallest little bit, just out there. And I barely put any out there, so when I touch it, it's not gonna grow very far. small little things, right? It's all about little adjustments. What do you do when you're about to, somebody pulls out in front of you? Do you yank on the wheel or do you just make a little adjustment? Right? Little things. Nothing too crazy. We're not NASCAR drivers out here, right? We're not trying to make these insane maneuvers. We just want to have little things. Little differences, little changes, little here, little there. Maybe it came out, you get a couple little drags, a couple little this, right? Let's come in for our last little one out here. Working it around. Doesn't have to connect. You decide, right? You decide what it looks like. It literally. Take your 2-inch brush, swipe it back towards our wave. All right, just come in, we'll grab up our black and crimson and blue into that same dark mix. And maybe right over here, we just had this cool little bit of a rock just pop out. Sort of covering a little bit of that wave, helps push it back, right? We're just pulling the color down, only worried about the top edge. So where do you want yours to be, right? That's where you pull it down. Let it blend out, but we're not trying to bring it all the way down to the bottom of the candles. Take our 1-inch brush, very lightly pulling, shaping, turning in different directions. Maybe that guy went down like this, and then it hit, then it went over here. This side was flat and came down, or over here. It's like steps. How do you want yours to look, right? Pull it off in different directions. Same thing we're going to do when we go in with our knife. Right? We're going to change it. We're going to do different things. Okay, why don't we mix up a little bit of the lighter color brown and our yellow ochre. They make the most gorgeousy little sandy brown color. But you need enough of the dark sienna. There we go. All right, awesome little beachy, sandy, rocky color. Scrape up a little bit. And again, we're not trying to cover up this whole thing. We just want it to drop in little places and break so our pressure changes, right? We don't want everything to be shown. Don't want to have everything out in the light. Come back over here, maybe this side, add a little flick or a little this or a little that. And it started to come down, right? Leaving all this room for our darkness, our original dark color. And that way you can come in different areas, right? And then really fill up the bottom with all of our dark texture like that. Oh, creates all the most deepest, darkest little shadows. Maybe come have a little bit of brown on top of that guy. There's little separations, little things. Again, where do you want your little shadowy lines to be? Where do you want them to connect? Where do you want your rocks? Where do you want your this? Where do you want your that? Right? Because it doesn't have to look exactly like mine. I'm just kind of showing you cool little things. That's all we do over here. Cool stuff to help you learn. Hey, just like that. A little bit of dark areas. They never all get lit up. It's never all this perfectly lit thing. Like, what if we went just over? Oh, man. That's fire. Right? Bringing them, just mixing them. Letting them be all messy and nasty. That's what it's about. That's what it's about. Gotta have those differences in color. We talk about them all the time. A little bit more of our darkness, because I don't think it would light up so much right there. There we go. Beauty. Beauty and the Beast. A little bit of our bright cad yellow mixed in with a little bit of the white, just in a few little areas, just for Dolly so she can see them, right? Oh, gorgeous. Maybe it's algae growing out on our rocks or something. Whatever it is, it looks fantastic with these little things, right? Different little areas. Little bits, little things. Take our 1-inch brush, swiping up so soft, because if you move too hard, it's going to move all the paint, and that's not what we want to do. We just want to soften it the smallest bit, maybe in just a few areas. Right? Little things. How did you pull your knife? You need to go the opposite way when you do the brushing upwards, and you just soften things down, and then you can blend them out, do all sorts of stuff, and maybe down here we wanted it nice and dark with all the shadow. So let's put a little bit of our black down in there. Right, and just blend it so we have this little bit of darkness back behind our little rock right there. Fantastic. Just like that. And it blend down differently, going off in different ways. Super cool. Okay, and it helps it stand out very bright over there. All right, let's do one more. We're gonna go black into our dark brown, our darkest of the browns. Maybe we'll put another little rock in back here. Right, just bouncing him up, smushing the paint on him, trying to leave it thick. I don't want it to be, you know, so light. Otherwise, it's not gonna retain its dark color against all this other darkness, right? Got a little bit of rock that we're crashing on back there. Same thing, gonna go into our little bit of brown, maybe out here on the top, just touching in different areas. Maybe out there on the edge, but a little bit of shadow behind it. A little bit more shadows. All right, this one's about to get smothered in this rock, so we don't need to show every single, smothered in this wave, so we don't need to show every single bit of it. There we go. Very cool, very dark, very mysterious. Didn't cover up enough of the darkness down there. And then very lightly, again, so soft, however you think it's gonna look the best, and try not to move it. Just trying to soften it. This helps it dry like, I don't know, an hour faster, right? It's gonna take probably 3 weeks for it to dry, but just softening it will help. It will help that, okay? Let's take our last little bit just for Dolly, because I love her so much. She's already got one of my farm paintings. Now she's got this beautiful seascape. It's fantastic, it's gorgeous. Excellent, excellent. All right. That last little bit of our liquid whitey yellowy mixture, maybe we add just a few little details for her. A couple little things, a couple little bits out here. Right? Little things for her eyes to pick up, because she has a hard time seeing. So she'll look one day and go, oh, I haven't seen that one. That'll be cool. That'll make me happy. Very lightly, all the way from the edge, back into the wave, very light pressure, right? So cool. So cool. Maybe this one though had a little bit more of like watery line back in here, and then it may be connected around the side of the rock, right? And all we're doing is just mushing it and mixing it and picking it up and dropping it. You got your little bit of water back there. Little bits of water. And then down from the top, right? And get all this little bit of foam that's riding its way up the waves. It's going up the waves on a ride. There we go. Very lightly, very lightly. Josh I like my paintings at that little bit of difference between super texture and very brushed out. So I got my own little thing going on, guys. Got my own little way of doing stuff, right? Maybe this guy in here needs a little bit of that brightness of our water line, just to have it make sense. There we go. There we go, guys. Again, you can always move it, slide it down, do little different things, however you want, but just make sure your angles match up right? Otherwise, it's gonna look a little funky. Back, pop in a little bit of a shadow back in there. Maybe one over here. Small little things. Little bits. And I guess we'll take the last little bit of liquid white that we can get just on the tip corner, and we'll redo some of these little guys back in here. Right, popping them over that color like they're about to come down and just smash, hit and go fly off, right? Just like that. And if you don't like any of them, watch this. You just mix them out, blend them away, and all of a sudden, where did it go? Nobody knows. If it hadn't been for paint with Joshy, oh, I'd quit painting a long time ago. Where did he come from? Where did he go? Where did he come from? Paint with Joshy, oh. That's the new song, the new parody song, guys. It's gonna be fire. It's gonna be fire. Who's excited about Paint with Joshy, oh? That's what we should probably call it. If it hadn't been for paint with Joshy, oh, I'd quit painting a long time ago. Where did he come from? Where did he go? Where did he come from? Paint with Joshy, oh. It's gonna be fantastic. It's gonna be fantastic. A little bit of darkness in there, right? You can go back and fill in little potholes and little dark areas. Wherever you think you need to. It starts getting too bright, dump a little bit of darkness back in there. And again, very lightly. All we're doing is just waiting. We're just having those little bit of changes. And then we see and we look and we go, okay, maybe this hole could look a little bigger. If we do that, and maybe we'll poke a little hole back through that foam right there, right? All depends. What do you want yours to look like? Work on your angles. And then the final piece, We'll take a little bit of our liquid white, like it came down, maybe from up here. It starts creating what we want our crashing wave to look like. And you line up your little lines with however your lines from the bottom are going. Right? They don't all have to line up. It doesn't have to look like ridges or anything like that. And then we're going to take a little bit of the darkness, our black color, or grab your black from in here, work it backwards and then in. Right? It creates that little bit of shadow. And the more you go down, the more rotational bits you're going to have, because our water's rotating and curling up there, right? Pulling down little things. Maybe add a little bit of an eye, little vein here, a little bit up here, and it came in. You get all these little details and little bits of gorgeousness, right? Gorgeous. Man, those are cool. Love this little thing in there. Right? Not putting a lot of pressure down. Drag a few little bits. Very cool. A lot of little details for Dolly to look at, right? All right, so let's go and we'll mark it over here. We'll assign the old Josh Hancock and tell you guys you can go get all the stuff that I have in my Amazon wish list, which is, my Amazon affiliate link, which is amazon.com/shop/paintwithjosh. You can buy paintings like this, or shirts or hats or merch or canvas prints and all sorts of stuff. Go over to paintwithjosh.etsy.com and you're really going to love what you find over there. I've got 40% off going and free international shipping. So get on over to paintwithjosh.etsy.com and get yourself a brand new painting. All right, maybe we come back in here because this guy was a little bit. Just move him. Just mush him a little with our dark color on our brush. Slide him across. There we go. No mistakes, right? Just happy accidents. Now back in here, we're going to grab onto that light. We're going to fix over here. And then no one will ever know. Very cool. All right. So you can buy paintings like this one at paintwithjosh.etsy.com. You can go over and support London's Candle Store at thelondoncandleco.etsy.com. And you can send me items off of my wish list, which is, you can find it in the link tree, which you'll see posted with this video in the description and on the picture on Facebook and Instagram and everywhere else. So you'd be able to go find me from over there, right? Let's come in. Maybe we had a few of these little guys. Just more little details, right? Little fingers, little things, little holes, little bits of movement, and all sorts of stuff happening in there. There we go. Little details, not allowing too much to show. Fantastic. Okay, well, let's put the old family in. We need a little bit of our thinner. I like to put 3 birds into every painting. They represent my family, myself and my daughter and my gorgeous ex-wife, London. And we're still best friends, so no worries there. Go over and shop her store, thelondoncandleco.etsy.com. So if you can't afford a painting, you can still support our family by going to thelondoncandleco.etsy.com. We're going to put our family in right over here. There we go. These birds are about to all be the same size now that our daughter's getting so dang big. Okay. Well, guys, I can't wait to see your version of this painting. It turned out fantastic. Hopefully, Dolly loves it. We're going to find out right now. And, check the comments below. Maybe she'll say, oh my God, I love this one. So, until we see you guys again next time, thank you so much for hanging out with me. You can find tons of other seascape videos, landscape videos, Bob Ross videos, how-to videos, liquid white, how to use gesso, all sorts of stuff. You can search the playlists in my YouTube channel. It's fantastic. Thank you guys for watching, and I can't wait to see what you guys can do. So until we see you again next time, take care, have the rest of a good day, and bye-bye.